All right, Alexander, let's talk about Nord Stream. Let's revisit the Nord Stream pipeline sabotage and the Wall Street Journal article, which claims to have the real story, what really happened with Nord Stream. And it looks like Zaluzhny was the guy that was running it. The ambassador of Ukraine to the UK is the guy, according to the Wall Street Journal, that organized and commanded the Nord Stream pipeline sabotage, though he denies it. The Wall Street Journal reached out to him and he denies it. And a team of 6 people. One of the guys was actually living in Poland for the last couple of years. His name is oddly enough, it's Volodymyr Z. Okay. Now from what I understand, he's in Ukraine and Germany just can't extradite him or get to him, even though this is the guy that blew up the biggest, most important pipeline in all of the collective West. And the CIA, they told Zelensky to pull the plug on this, even though he liked the idea at first. And Zaluzhny disobeyed Zelensky's order. And this is a fantastical story from the Wall Street Journal, and shocking in a way that this is what they're running with. If you believe
and convenient
this narrative, yeah,
and conveniently timed just a few weeks before the November elections, so that if there's a crisis in Ukraine between now and then, and we have a collapse, well, you've got the story ready. You could say, well, these people weren't really always listening to what we were saying. Look, they even went off and blew up Nord Stream without our instructions. Anyway, it is an absolutely fascinating story. It's for six guys in a boat, basically. Remember, it used to be 4, now it's 6. They blew up Nord Stream.
6 guys in 5 guys and 1 girl.
Five guys and 1 girl. It should, absolutely, yeah. 6 guys, exactly 5. That's right. So anyway, there we go. This is where we are. This is the story, and a number of interesting questions. First of all, why refer to him when you issue the arrest warrant as Volodymyr Z? Why not give his name? I'm just asking that question. We are yeah, exactly. I think so. In fact, by the way, the Russian media, and I stress that this is the Russian media, are informing us that his actual name is Zhuravlyov. That, this isn't, by the way, which isn't Z. Because the Z is not a Z letter in Cyrillic. But just to say. But anyway, so Vladimir Z, why call him that? Why not just issue an arrest warrant under his full actual name? As I said, it does seem to make a connection. And I do find that interesting. I mean, I don't want to push this too far, but that's one thing. But as is every other thing, every other aspect of this story seems completely fantastic, that is cobbled together in this way by Ukrainians. Zelensky is asked about it. He agrees to do it. Well, Zelensky's the kind of person who probably would come up with a thing like that. Then he tells Zaluzhny not to do it. Zaluzhny just goes ahead anyway, doesn't pay any attention to Zelensky. He authorizes all of these 4 plus a girl to sort of woman to blow up the pipeline, and they manage it. I mean, one of them is a scuba diver. He does scuba diving. He's Vladimir Z. He does a bit of scuba diving, and apparently that's enough training to be able to handle complex explosives, to understand where to plant them over pipelines and do all of that. And then, of course, all of this is successful. The biggest energy infrastructure project in Europe is blown up. It's done so by officials of the Ukrainian government, but Germany tells us, oh, no, this isn't a matter of any real concern. Yeah, maybe Zelensky was involved, maybe Zaluzhny was involved, but this is completely separate from the fact that there's a war and we must continue to support Ukraine. Our industries might be collapsing or closing down. Our prices might be rising, but we must look the other way and continue to give the Ukrainians even more money and even more weapons, even though they blow up our own pipelines and land us in an economic mess. As I said, I find this whole thing so bizarre. I was tempted to say that if you believe it, then I have a bridge to sell you. But I think this is so bizarre that I don't think I'd have many takers for that bridge.
How do you have a Zaluzhny being the ambassador of Ukraine to the UK after this Wall Street Journal story comes out? I mean, how is this possible? I mean, I don't understand it.
Well, you don't. I mean, an ambassador of a country. I mean, you would have thought that if Zaluzhny really was involved in such an act, which by some definitions, my definitions, I think most legal definitions, would be a terrorist act. Just saying. I think that you ask Ukraine, is this true? And you say, well, I think this person cannot be your ambassador, and ask for him to be recalled. Just saying. But, the Germans aren't fussed, the British aren't fussed, the Americans aren't fussed. All that we want to do is to track down and capture Volodymyr Z.
It's unbelievable. I mean, this is an unbelievable article from the Wall Street Journal. So they're putting this out there. Obviously, this is in preparation of some sort of a collapse in Ukraine. Maybe they're trying to get ahead of the story. They're trying to create the psychological connection so that when people read this story, they kind of connect Volodymyr Z to Vladimir Zelensky. This Vladimir Z guy did a bad thing, and then they're creating these types of connections. So maybe in the near future, when they remove Zelensky for his incompetence, and who knows what other stories they may make up about him, the people have already been kind of psychologically prepared for Zelensky's downfall. I don't know. I mean, the purpose of this article, what do you believe it is? Because it's not about telling the true story of Nord Stream, that's for sure.
No, it is doing exactly what you said. It is preparing the ground, I would say, for a change of power in Kiev. I mean, that is the only logical way that he can do it. It implicates Zelensky himself, because instead of Zelensky telling Zaluzhny, under no circumstances do such a crazy and wrong thing, attacking the infrastructure, the energy infrastructure of one of our main allies. You have Zelensky going along and going ahead with this. It implicates Zaluzhny as well. As I say, it's preparing the ground for a decision to pull the rug underneath all of that crowd in Kiev, and coming back to why they're not giving the man's full name, and they're giving us, a name which appears to kind of establish, sort of remind us of someone else. Well, I don't think that's chance. I think again, it's a clear hint that they want Zelensky to go. I mean, just a question: are the Germans asking the Ukrainians to hand over this man?
It seems like the Germans don't care.
Well, of course they don't care, but I mean, logically, if they've issued an arrest warrant for him, they ought to be asking the Ukrainians to hand him over, even if there is no actual extradition treaty.
Well, I mean, it seems like Poland
making the step. Are they even making the request? I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, it seems like Poland was giving this guy a home for a couple of years, knowing what he did, and they didn't seem to care either.
No.
I mean, if this was a Russian diver who blew up Nord Stream, we'd be in World War III.
Well, absolutely.
This would be NATO Article 5.
Yes. So I have to agree with every point you've just made. But no, I mean,
okay.
The point about the story is, I don't think this is. You should see this as an explanation for what actually happened with Nord Stream. What it is, it's timed in connection with the events in Ukraine, and I suspect with the American election in November, to prepare the ground for a clearing of the board in Kiev.
So another purpose of the story, perhaps, another purpose of the story is to further humiliate Germany. I mean, this story just reinforces, to me, as I read this story, it just reinforces the fact that from this entire debacle that is Project Ukraine. Yes, Ukraine is obviously the big loser in all of this. I mean, they're coming out the worst. We don't even know if there's going to be a Ukraine when all is said and done. But the country that has really lost out on this entire 3-year project is Germany. And you read an article like this, and it just further reinforces the collective West humiliation of Germany in a way. Yes. I can't figure out another word to describe it, but it really does embarrass and humiliate Germany.
The relationship, I have to say this, the relationship between the administration and Germany now is becoming a straightforwardly abusive one. I mean, is continuously punished, and it comes back for more and more. And it is, for somebody like myself who likes Germany a lot, goes there often, has familial connections with Germany. I mean, I've talked about my wife's family, but I should say that my father spoke German, lived a long time in Germany, knew Germany very well. This is really deeply shocking that the Germans could let themselves be talked to and treated in this way. You would expect that the entire German political economic establishment would be up in arms, that they would be demanding to know what happened, that the Scholz government would be under severe pressure, that there'd be questions asked about it in the Bundestag, the German parliament, that the German media would be all over this. And no, they just come back, they ask for more, they're going to take more punishment. There doesn't seem to be any end point to what the German political class are prepared to take. And as very often happens, and bear in mind, I've somebody who's in my previous work, I used to see what happened when you found, you saw abusive relationships. What they do is they're taking out their anger. The political class are taking out their anger, which derives from their sense of humiliation, increasingly on those parts of their own people who are coming out and who are asking the questions and are criticizing them.
Yeah, it feels like the collective West is punishing Germany nonstop for once upon a time daring to have good relations with Russia.
Exactly.
Even thinking about building a pipeline, a Nord Stream 1 and a Nord Stream 2, it seems like they're just punishing them over and over again now for even coming up with these types of cooperations with Russia.
Exactly. And as I said, anybody in Germany who stands up and asks the questions now, all of the machinery is now brought out and is directed against them. And it's been done in a very, very relentless way as well, with all the with all the media restrictions and campaigns of attacks and abuse of people like that. So in effect, the German political class, absorbing all that abuse, is passing it down.
All right, we will end the video there, the Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X, and go to the Duran shop. Pick up some merch like the t-shirts we are wearing today with the country flags on the sleeves. Nice shirts. I will put a link to those t-shirts in the description box down below. Take care.